let's listen to the building owner. This is track 3. And this is a guy named Larry Silverstein who owned the building. He bought the World Trade Center complex, I believe, months prior to the 9/11 event. Yeah. And here he is on record on PBS on a documentary talking about language that really seems like it was an intentional in controlled demolition of the building. So here it is.
World Trade Center 7 had always been considered the starting point for rebuilding. Located north of the slurry wall, 7 had been cleared faster than the rest of the site, and there had been no bodies to recover. Pelted by debris when the North Tower collapsed, 7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
And also, there's been some. I guess he's come back on that and tried to say that he meant that they were pulling the fire department
pull the men out. Yeah,
but there was never firefighters in the building.
Correct.
And on top of that, for him to say that we pulled it and then watch the building fall down wouldn't meet up to me that we pulled out the people and then watched it fall down.
Right. And we're going to see.
All the volunteers here at Valley Free Radio give time and effort, not just for their own programs, but also to help the station function. We hold meetings to discuss decisions, we communicate with each other to help solve problems, and we support each other with trainings, community events, and work days. Now we are asking for your support. Please visit www.valleyfreeradio.org to donate or send a check to 140 Pine Street, Florence, Massachusetts, 01062. All donations are tax deductible. Thank you.
In upcoming clips, the more shadows can be cast than just that simple. Yeah, sure. Maybe Larry Silverstein didn't really mean pull it, like there was somebody with a detonator there and he said pull it and they blew up the building. Maybe he just meant pull the guys out. But what we're going to hear now, and before we move on, I do think it's significant that in that documentary they mention how, first of all, the fact that they were talking about how fast everything was cleaned up, like that's a good thing. I mean, you're talking about 3 crime scenes, 4 if you count the Pentagon. Let's count the Pentagon and let's throw in
Shanksville too.
That crater in the ground and the coroner who said he stopped being coroner after 5 minutes, but we'll throw that in too.
Because he found no bodies.
Right. But anyway, the documentary does say that it was very easy to clean up Building 7 and it moved faster because there were no bodies. And we're going to definitely dispute that claim in some upcoming quotes. But before we get to that, this is a guy named Kevin McPadden. We're going to hear he's on track 4. And he was an EMS responder. He was right outside the building helping people out, and he's going to tell his story about Building 7.
All right, you're listening to Valley Free Radio, WXOJLP 103.3 FM in Northampton.
It was like there was a whole lot of commotion. The firefighters were picking up, and they were starting to roll out and go follow these buses that went downtown. And the Red Cross rep was like, he goes over and he says, well, you got to stay behind this line because they're thinking about bringing the building down. They didn't say what building. They just said bringing a building down. So we're like, okay, we'll take their word for it. We'll stay behind the line. And he went over and he talked to one of the, through all the commotion, he goes over and he asked one of the Red Cross, or one of the firefighters, what was going on. I guess, I don't know if he got an answer or not. He came back over with his hand over the radio, and what sounded like a countdown. And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off, and you heard 3, 2, 1, and he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions. Like, boom! has like a distinct sound. It's not like when compression, like boom, 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 like floors that were dropping and collapsing. This was a boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something. That, to me, I knew that was an explosion. There was no doubt in my mind. And by that time, we're running out into the street. Half the people had taken off, running up the street, and everybody's running into the center of the street. Meanwhile, everybody that was south of that intersection was running up the street, getting chased by this cloud of smoke, which was monstrous. And they were just, people were getting knocked over, trampled on, and, you know, like I was asking myself, do I run into the dust and run down there to maybe try to help those people that were on the buses, or do I try to help the people right here, or do I just try to cover my own ass and take off and try to hide, seek cover and hide? And I did the best that I could in the intersection right there, picking a few people up, and then I took off and ran and seek cover for myself.
And that was Building 7 falling?
That was Building 7 that fell. Yes.
So that's Kevin McPadden. He was in the Air Force. He was an EMS first responder. Clearly, you see what side of the what his story is. He no question about what claims he's making.
Yeah, it's like every single interview that I've heard with first responders totally debunks everything that they've tried to tell us.
Yeah, and it's not to take away from the firemen and police that were heroes on that day and lost their lives on that day, but you never really hear very much about the EMS workers that were, and I think that really people need to pay a little more attention to them and honor their fallen. I mean, a lot of EMS guys died that day.
Absolutely.
So. Let's see. We heard Kevin McPadden on Building 7. Now, this is a big guy in the Building 7 issue. If you want to really talk about Building 7, you got to know about a guy named Barry Jennings. And unfortunately, the man has passed away since under pretty questionable issues, and we're going to hear about that later. But this is the interview that he gave right on the street on 9/11 as they're pulling people off. And we're going to talk a lot more about these street interviews that occurred on the day of 9/11 because some of them are very, very significant. But this is track 6, Barry Jennings' street interview.
For the past couple of minutes, it has been clear from this space back on Chambers in that area. So now they're walking back toward the World Trade Center. And as we keep letting you hear the personal stories, the survivor stories of exactly what happened inside the World Trade Center when that first plane went in, and of course the collapses since then, we're going to bring more of those to you now. Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hesh, the Corporation Counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hesh. I said, this is it. We're dead. We're not going to make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. That's when this gentleman here heard my cries for help. This gentleman right here, and he kept saying, stand by, somebody's coming to get you. They couldn't get to us for an hour because they couldn't find us.
You thought that was it?
I thought we're dead. I thought that was it. I started praying to Allah. I said, that's it. We're gone. It's over.
What was it like for you? You were inside there as well.
It was pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying, and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away. There was no way to access us. We couldn't get to him. And finally, one of the fire department teams found him. But we didn't think they were going to make it.
Well, certainly you got out. Many others didn't. Of course, we don't have a number right now of fatalities or injuries. But I want to translate a story to you that another man told me. He was near the building. He was on the lobby level, near the shopping area, near the promenade. The elevator doors, he said to me, blew open. And when the doors opened, there was a man on fire inside that elevator. That is the kind of tragedy we are talking about here, and where the World Trade Center